Here's where it has to hit, right there.
Alright.
Okay. All right. Okay, Pete, ready?
Ready. Sorry, I'll get it.
You lost something. You all right, Pete?
Thanks.
It's all right, sucker. That's the thing about baseball. It's one long season. Don't worry about whether you win or lose. Just keep swinging.
Officials have told us two things regarding the arrest warrant, but here to put it into perspective for the first time is the renowned Daily Bugle news publisher.
J. Jonah Jameson here. Spider-Man. Wanted criminal, wielding powers he has no right to possess. Trying to pass himself off as a hero. But fear not, New York. Tonight, he'll be caught in his web of lies. You think you can fool the Daily Bugle? Come on, Spider-Man! Let me tell you something, kid. You're no hero! You're a freak!
Promise me one thing. Just keep swinging.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the SGP Podcast. We haven't done these in a while, but we're back, and we're back with none other than one of our original guests, Benett Sullivan.
What's
Hey
up,
Ben,
guys?
how you doing?
Dude, I'm doing good. It's a trip down memory lane to be back here, but I'm so excited because this is one of my favorite podcasts that I've done. So thank you, bro. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, bro, I've been wanting to do one for so long, and then your trailer came out, and I was like, we have to do one. We talked about it the first time around,
Yeah.
and now we're back. Yeah, so I wanted to get straight into it. I wanted to kind of talk about the project first. Can you give us like a quick rundown of Spider-Man Alone?
Yes. Boom. Let's go. Spider-Man Alone is a character-driven fan series following a year one street-level Spider-Man. This is all actually true. It follows a year one street-level Spider-Man. We're asking the question, what does it take to be a hero? So essentially, we're creating a live-action Netflix-style Spider-Man series. Our show meets is something like Perks of Being a Wallflower meets Stranger Things. If we brought those two kind of ideas together, brought it to Spider-Man, what would that be like? And so, yeah, that's what we're trying to create, and we're funding for episode 1 right now.
Awesome. So, can you tell us a little bit about like the core story? I know Chameleon's a villain in this, which is like a first timer for a lot of Spider-Man media. What inspired you to tell us this version of Spider-Man?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main story revolves around it's a story about grief and coming of age and sort of all of those kinds of intricacies, all the things wrapped up in, what we call becoming a man, if you will. And so we really took a lot of inspiration from those early comics. Amazing Fantasy 15 is essentially our starting point for the series. But we don't just kind of jump from Amazing Fantasy 15 to Amazing Spider-Man 1. we actually wanted to explore what happens in between those comics, essentially bring context, bring new life to what it even means to be a hero. So we're exploring over the course of a season, how does this kid who's bullied, who's an outcast, who, loses this father figure, figure out life, or put something to the page, like what does he do? Because I know my first instinct when something bad happens to me or I'm at fault, it is not to do the right thing. So if we know anything about Peter Parker, it's that, he's a flawed character like us all, and he's struggling to figure this out just like any one of us. And that's actually what is interesting. So if we get to explore a 16-year-old Peter Parker figuring out his identity, trying to make friends for the first time, fit in at school, be this vigilante, maybe hero in the world, and what even does that mean? All while trying to work through grief and find some form of healing, etc. We just thought that that'd be a really interesting story. And you're right, Chameleon is the first comic villain. So we thought, what better way to, clash our themes of finding your identity than with a villain who's weaponizing identity. So it's going to make for a really fun psychological thread throughout the season.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, honestly. It's definitely a fresh take on the character. It's a fresh, original take because you're taking a lot, like you said, inspo from Amazing Fantasy 15 and, a lot of the early comics for Spider-Man, which is opposed to, a lot of modern media takes a lot from, earlier, like, more recent runs and stuff like that. Yeah, like, one of the questions that I always had in mind was the word alone for this series, Spider-Man alone. How did that come about? Like, does it reflect Peter's headspace, or is it something bigger? Is it something that's going to stay in the show if you go over to a season 2? Or is it something that's only for this season and represents just the story of the season?
Great. So I'll try to answer each of those questions in one. So essentially, alone does reflect Peter's headspace. It's a title for where he's at, his character development. It also very much reflected my own headspace in creating the series. I'm someone who has dealt with, loneliness in his own life, and that kind of like outcast isolation that I think we're all prone to as we kind of grow up. And so that was that was one of the strongest points that I felt like was connecting me to Peter at the time of writing the series. And then if you do go back and you want to find those little Easter eggs, I mean, in the first Spider-Man comics, one of his lines, one of his first lines after losing Uncle Ben is, and I'm going to paraphrase it here, but you can find it, is essentially he's talking about him and May, and he's saying, we're all alone now. And it literally comes out of his own mouth. It's literally written right there in the source material. The very beginning, his origin is essentially this kid who was already isolated, now feeling somehow even more alone in the world. And I just think that there's something so profound and universal about that, but also so personal to me and my own experience. So I kind of thought that that'd be the perfect starting place for any hero who is supposed to be this, friendly neighborhood, unifying community archetype, right? Then he has to start somewhere completely opposite. So alone to something more. And in terms of the title of the show also being alone and how that stretches to potentially future seasons, I will give you the tea because we beat around the bush our first podcast of this. But yeah, season 2, theoretically, if there was a season 2, would not be called Alone. It kind of is weird because we're going with the titles as if they were like movies, but really the idea is that every season is a new season in Peter Parker's life. So, what's his biggest threat or villain or, state of being at the time? In season 1, it's going to be him being alone and coming out of that. In season 2, there would be something else. So that's how it progressed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm treating my episodes like issues,
Yeah.
which is something I'm doing. Like seasons are volumes, so like volume 1 and kind of like that, where it's like
Yep.
the Spectacular Spider-Man volume 2, and then it's like the title of that volume.
Yep.
I just think it's a little cool
Yep.
comic thing you can do.
Mhm.
So speaking of the comic book runs, was there a specific comic book run, movie, or game that influenced this take on Peter Parker and his world around him?
Absolutely. So I'll get into some of the other media inspiration, although I will always harken back to that source material because you don't have Spider-Man if you don't have Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. There's no Spider-Man if Amazing Fantasy 15 never worked. There was such a beautiful and interesting reason if you really dig through those comics as to why they worked and why they worked in the culture at the time. And so we try to take that formula and replicate it for our world today while still honoring what they did. So Spider-Man, the very first run, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, the GOATs, irreplaceable, are our biggest inspiration for season 1. That being said, we have character dynamics and definitely modern runs too being brought in. There is I actually have a character guide for everybody that's cast. They have their own PowerPoint. It's not PowerPoint. It's actually Google Slides, sponsor us. But they have their own presentation essentially of movies they need to watch and comics that they need to read to prepare for their character. And all of our characters are sort of this amalgamation of the early 60s comics and some newer comics and TV shows. For example, Spectacular Spider-Man, is one of the best iterations of Spider-Man we've had, in the past 10, 15 years, I think. And I think you think that too, because your fan series
Yeah.
Spider-Man. So really, I think what we really latched onto in that show is, how well and how dynamic the characters were written and explored, especially their relationships with one another, how they're changing, how they're circulating each other. And the best part about TV series is that, you get these multiple storylines kind of all leading us to this really beautiful point. You don't have to rush, right, getting to the climax. We got time to sit and to grow with these characters. And so that is a honorably guilty pleasure of mine. I have the whole actual DVD set of
Me too. It's right there.
Similar to you, when I was first thinking of getting back into a fan film, actually, I think so. I had a fan film idea. That's where this kind of all started from in high school that I was going to do. And I'm pretty sure it was called The Spectacular Spider-Man then too. And then when I was revisiting it in the past couple of years leading to this, that was like the mock-up name. The temp name was, of course, as it is, because it's the GOAT. So we definitely pulled from that. Marvel's Daredevil, the original Netflix series is a huge touch point. We also grew up with that. And they really set a new precedent for how to approach street level characters. So, we took some inspiration from that as well. Stranger Things, of course. And then, there's some newer comic runs that we all pulled from, like Spider-Man Mythos, that run, the Gwen Stacy has her own kind of comic run where it's an interesting relationship where she's a lot more involved and with her dad and kind of maybe almost like a forensics level science thing that she kind of does. And it was just a really interesting way that they gave her character agency and a place in her dad's world. So we've pulled from that. We've pulled from a few different Amazing Spider-Man runs, but there's so many different things that we kind of pulled from as inspiration. But we just are kind of keeping to the heart of what our story is, which is kind of all those things brought together to still be something original. So
I think that's really cool. I was also gonna say it's crazy how Amazing Fantasy, that Spider-Man comic book, was supposed to be a throwaway comic because it was at its last run. They didn't want to make Spider-Man a natural character, so Stan Lee just put it here, and it was like a crazy hit.
Can you believe the global phenomena, the best superhero that is
Like
created.
ever. Yeah,
It
ever.
literally was almost didn't happen. Literally, the editor was like, "This is garbage. People don't like spiders. This isn't going to work."
It's like a
And
teenager is never
they
gonna work.
literally
I'm like,
they threw it in on purpose as the last comic because that comic series was ending, and that created what we have now. It's
it's crazy.
incredible.
Yeah,
The
it's
power,
like
the power of a good story, man.
it's insane, like, to think about it. So I kind of want to move forward to your Indiegogo. You recently, launched your trailer for Spider-Man Alone.
That's
Released
right.
the Indiegogo. Could we talk about some of those perks so viewers can know what they can expect when donating to this awesome project?
Absolutely. So we are running this project with a fantastic team involved. I mean, we got so lucky with some of the cast that we have, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. Some of the crew that we have, the VFX team that we're working with. So in order to make something that is, pretty high quality, something that can kind of stand on its own, which is a part of our goal, we kind of had to set a healthy entry point that anybody can kind of access and get into some of the perks if they wanted to support the project. But we also have some higher level perks, for potentially bigger investors or organizations that wanted to partner with us. Because as much as we want to tell a really powerful and present story to today's world and honor this character, we also have some real world philanthropic initiatives that we're working on too. And the beautiful part about it is partnering with us and donating is fulfilling both of those needs. So that's something that we're super excited and is all a part of our Indiegogo that I can get into. So you guys can join in and get a name and credits at $10. The first perk is a $10 perk. You get your name and credits. You get immortalized. You are part of this thing no matter what. Then it goes up to $15. So for only $5 more, you get your name and credits, but you also get a digital poster. This is a poster that we haven't even released on our social channels yet, but it's kind of been everywhere. I think it's like people have really hyped it up, but all I see are like little 480p JPEGs of it floating around because we haven't released it, so people don't have a high quality version of it. But it was made by amazing artist P. Villy. So that's like the second tier. But then we kind of get up, and I'll fly through some of these to, you get a 4K digital copy and a copy of the script at 30, get an original score made by our composer, Ignacy Wojciechowski from Poland, amazing, whose music actually was in our trailer, and a cast video at 45. And then you just get to go onwards and onwards to a Blu-ray, collector's Blu-ray,
Nice.
signed poster and script, calling the filmmakers and seeing some of the storyboards. So you get to come in on an actual video meeting with us, meet us all, and we get to kind of walk you through the creative world of what's making Spider-Man Alone a thing, all the way to a director's script with all the annotations and early access to the pilot episode. And then for our highest tier perks, you can be an associate producer, or you can come on and be an executive producer. And those things are going to get you on set, involved in the creative process. And executive producer, you're going to be with us at the, premiere of this. You're going to be seeing all the cuts of it. You're going to have full input because this is not going to be your project too. So yeah, and the philanthropic initiative is we're partnered with an organization called Friendly Neighborhood Activist, who is fighting hygiene poverty in Atlanta and Cincinnati. And part of what we're trying to fundraise is a community hygiene locker. So by donating to our add-on perk, which is the Friendly Neighborhood Activist perk, you help fund this initiative, and we get to now put up a community hygiene locker here in Atlanta that serves the homeless community, and it's just beautiful. And that's just the starting point of what we hope to do with them. So
yeah, man, that's amazing. You're giving back to the community with this awesome project, and I think that's like a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
That's like one of the things that instantly grasped my attention when I looked at the Indiegogo. Was like, oh, this is awesome. This is something that's amazing. So yeah, those are the perks. Please donate. We have 12 days left.
12 days left.
12 days left. Yeah, we have 12 days left. So rally up as much as you can.
Send it to your mom, your grandma, your brother that you don't even talk to anymore.
You just spam it everywhere. This is awesome. You know, I'm excited. I'm super excited for this project, which I'm also really excited because I saw a lot of the castings for this. Can we talk about those real quick? I mean,
Let's
you got
go.
Rose Bianco from Cobra Kai. How did that come about? You know, what was the secret?
Man, the secret was God. Literally, bro. I was in the right place at the right time. So Rose Bianco is Miguel, Sholo Maridueña, Miguel from Cobra Kai, the main character. That's his grandma, Yaya Rosa. She's not just the comedic relief, but I think really she's like a heartbeat of that show. She is amazing. She crushed that role. She's so good. And I loved her even in this last season. You know, she had a little moment where she yelled at the last turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. So I actually had her in mind since the beginning, which is crazy. Before even we got the past couple seasons of Cobra Kai, before any of that. I actually was introduced to her on Cobra Kai, but I was a day one fan. I was watching Cobra Kai on YouTube Red.
I remember that. Yeah.
Most people don't know Cobra Kai was on YouTube Red. It got its
And
start.
then
Why?
Netflix
It's
picked it up.
similar to fan projects, similar to any independent thing. You're like, I've got this amazing, amazing idea. And then the big studios or people are like, we don't know if it's going to pay off. We don't know. We don't want to take the risk. Nobody fully believed in what those creators were doing. But YouTube Red said, all right, we'll take the gamble. And guess what? It became the most successful show and eventually landed them on Netflix. And Netflix bought the show and brought them to their platform. So I was watching Cobra Kai since the beginning and was watching Rose Bianco on that show since the beginning. And you know, pulling a lot from my own kind of lived experiences to write this story, you know, writing what I knew as, you know, a teenager coming of age, finding his identity, making all the mistakes. You know, I pulled from some of my heroes in my own life too, which are people like my mom, people like my titis, people like my grandma, you know, and Rose Bianco is like an amalgamation of all those women in my life. So for me, it just made perfect sense that for our Aunt May, she was going to be that woman. And then how did I get there? Dude, the stars aligned. I mean, I was going to find a way no matter what. I was going to find a way. But often, if you guys are anything like me, when you're shooting these shots in the DMs, it doesn't always work out. You know, people aren't always checking their DMs. People aren't always replying. So it was going to be a great way for me to kind of shoot my shot that way, but it might not have paid off. And somehow, some way, I was connecting with one of my mentors from college, Xavier Pierce, who is like one of the top theater lighting designers in the country. He's fantastic. And he did some work with Alliance Theater. Alliance Theater is like a really fantastic theater here, one of the biggest theaters in Atlanta. He had done a show with them, Darling Corey. He designed the lighting for that show, and they have an award show called the Susie Bass Awards, which is like, you know, local Tonys almost for theater.
Yeah,
he was nominated for an award, but he's like living in Florida. He's like, I'm with my wife and kid, whatever. We're in Florida. I'm not gonna make it, but I want you to go for me. And I was like, what? Like, just drop that ball on me. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. He's like, I want you to go. I want it to be like your coming out party to like the industry in Atlanta. I want them to finally know that you're ready and you just go and you take it over. You write a speech for me. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, what are you on right now? But, you know, he knew me from college, and I was a very passionate, fired up young artist, and that I could have something worth saying. So I went to the Susie Bass Awards and I wrote something, you know, like if you won, I'd have to go up and say it. And I got there and I sat in that award show, and I just knew the further we got into it that this dude was gonna win. Like, I just had that gut feeling, and I'm like sweating. I'm like, I'm about to leave. Like, I'm going home. like it's coming up to his category, and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, this dude's gonna win, and I'm gonna have to say some shit. What the hell? And sure enough, it got to his category. They said his name. And I was like, I got to video this for him. So I literally had my phone. I click record knowing he was going to win, like just feeling it. And then They announced his name. He did win, of course, which like I say that in jest now, but obviously
Yeah.
congrats, baby. And I turned to there's this grandma behind me. So I'm like, could you record this for me? It's for my friend. I'm not him, but I gotta go up. She's like, okay, baby, is it recording? And I'm like, it's already recorded. I'll do it anything. Just hold it. She's like, okay. And she starts recording, and I walk up, like some walk of shame kind of thing. I'm like, oh, shit. Anyway, long story boring. I said a speech in front of this regal theater audience. I felt like I embarrassed the crap out of myself just because it was very strong, you know, things to working industry professionals, but in so much love. I leave. I'm out in the hallway. I'm like, I kind of want to meet and greet, but I'm really like introverted right now. I'm going to go home, just hibernate. And anyway, a couple people come up to me and they were like, that was the best thing we heard all night. Thank you so much for speaking to the power of the arts and everything. And I was like, oh, thank you. And Rose Bianco, sure enough, was a presenter that night. She was one of the people announcing the category. So I'm like, damn, I'm going to be stupid if I don't walk up to her right now and be like, hey, and just introduce myself, just get a foot in the door. Because I already knew leading up to this point that she was my Aunt May, but she didn't know it. And I was not going to be like, hey, I got a Spider-Man project. Will you be? I'm not going to dump all that on her. But I'm like, if she sees my face and we make a good connection right now, I know that that's just going to open the door. And all I need is a door open to come back in the future. So I walked up to her and she's like, oh my God, I'm so glad I got to see you. What you said tonight was like one of the best things. I'm so glad you went up, said that thing. And so, thank you so much. Such a big fan. Can we get a picture? This. We shared. She's like, I hope we get to work together someday. And I was like, boom. I was like, that's all I needed to hear. I'm like, yep. And we are. And you don't know why, but we are. So then fast forward, I'll wrap up with the story, but fast forward, obviously a couple months, I DM'd her. We followed each other. You know, I DM'd her and I was just like, I have this idea. I just want to run it by you. Let's set up a meeting. I pitched her the whole thing, pitched her my story. Essentially, I'd done all the groundwork, guys. If this is you, do all the groundwork, have a pitch deck, you know, have your script, have stuff to show, to say, have your story as to why you're doing it. Actors also don't really get that. So when I pitch to actors, I'm going as if like they're like studio executives and they love it. They're like, we never get this shit. Like we don't get to have this. So they love it. But also, obviously, what you know about this project, what you know about me, all those things resonated with her. And it became something that she was like, I can't not do it. I have to do this. She believed in me. She believed in me because I had something worthwhile for her. And that led on and on and on. That's a similar story that I could share with other people in that cast that we have. But Rose Bianco being one of my favorite castings that we have for sure.
I like when I saw that, I was like, that's so cool. Like he did it. Somehow he did it. Some way, somehow he did it.
It's rare for what we kind of it doesn't really happen that way for this, so I feel very lucky and privileged.
Let's talk about some of the other cast members, like David Allen, who plays Uncle Ben, who we saw in the trailer. You know, how did that come about? How was he your right choice for Uncle Ben? Because he's such a pivotal person in Peter's life that I feel like you need that connection.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, how did this happen? How
did you like Uncle Ben in the trailer?
I liked Uncle Ben in the trailer a lot. Yes.
Come on, man. Good casting, bro. He just looks like Uncle Ben. He sounds like Uncle Ben. He has like there's like such a weird childlike innocence to him that I just didn't find in any other audition. Like I was like, oh, this guy, just by talking to you, like you feel for this guy, like there's like something that you want to like take care of. There's something that you want to like cherish and hold on to. And I'm like, that's exactly the way Peter feels about Uncle Ben. You know, that's what makes that kind of a loss in the comics or movies, you know, feel really earned. And this guy has that quality to him. And yeah, we auditioned a few different Uncle Ben, some great actors, some really, you know, down South Georgia actors, you know, local actors, which are great, but we kind of needed that New England, New York accent. There's like a tenacity. I'm from New England, so there's a different kind of personality and characteristics that come with someone being from up north versus down here in the South. And so I'm looking for that in the casting too. And David just kind of checked all the boxes. He also had like a baseball in his first audition. Like, you know, we did self tapes and everything, and he had like a baseball and he was just like throwing it up and catching it to himself. And there's just something just so classic about this guy. It worked out, obviously.
Yeah, no, I thought he was great in the trailer. I was like, yeah, this is Uncle Ben. Easily. Yeah, there's other characters. I saw you also had is it pronounced Caitlin?
Caitlin Chestnut, yeah.
Caitlin, for Jean DeWolf, which was really cool because we're both kind of using the same characters, and I was like, oh, that's sick. You know, how is she a part of this story? I feel like she's probably central, but I don't know. So how does she work in the story? What is her role in this?
So Jean is connected to Detective Stacy in our show, played by Michael Mao, who is also one of like the most phenomenal local actors here in Atlanta. He's killing it in film, but he's also killing it in theater. Michael Mao was actually cast after Caitlin, but you know, Michael Mao's playing Gwen Stacy's dad. In our story, he's a detective. He's not quite captain yet. And so we also kind of wanted to pair him off with Jean DeWolf, where in our show, obviously she's detective, and we kind of have this sort of interesting tension between them, you know, friction. They're kind of like friends, but they're kind of like, you know, ex-buddies, and you know, they kind of know how to get under each other's skin, you know, just like a brother and sister or something would.
Yeah.
So we are looking for that really fun, playful quality, but we're also looking with to find someone who had real acting chops and could also play the detective noir thriller elements of the show. And Michael Mao and Caitlin Chestnut both have that exceedingly and abundantly. Caitlin's she just moved to California actually, but she was like one of the top acting coaches here in Atlanta as well. She pretty much ran, or at least ran part of the program at AMAW, which my girlfriend did some classes at, who's an actor as well. And that's kind of like how we got to know Caitlin. But yeah, her work, her acting speaks for itself. And she also looks just like Jean DeWolf, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Like I pitched it to her too. I had a whole comic book kind of slide presentation, like everything. Literally, like I didn't even need to get past the first slide. Like I just showed her the comic book picture of Jean DeWolf, and she's like, holy shit, that's me. And I'm like, it literally is. Like she couldn't look more like the character. It's so weird.
Yeah, I also saw you had Ethan McDowell as Norman Osborn, which was like really cool because I was like, whoa, so we're having Norman, we're having Chameleon, you know, is Norman gonna be a big part of Peter's life for this season, or is he someone that's in the background kind of looking over like a possible threat for the future? What's Norman's role for this?
Dude, I'm having such a good time. I'm so excited right now. Like I'm fanning out. Like this is me. I'm not trying to brag. I'm fanning out hearing all these names because these are people that like I dreamed of working with. These are like amazing, amazing actors. And Ethan McDowell gave me one of the best auditions I've ever seen. Like, dude blew it out of the water. There was no doubt in my mind that he was Norman. Ethan has so much experience in acting. He was on Doom Patrol as also Forsyth as one of the villains. He's got amazing, amazing credits. A lot of his work, actually, if you guys check out his reel, I think we're going to share some of his work on our socials and stuff soon too. There are so many, like, he's never done Norman as we're having him. But I think if you look at all of his past roles, there's like a piece of Norman in each of them. And I knew that. And I was like, and he just has this look. And I was just like, man, if I could bring all those things together and ground it in our show, we might have like one of the best adaptations of Norman that I think we've seen since Willem Dafoe. I mean, it's going to be amazing. Ethan is such an amazing actor. He's going to crush it. And he already did in his audition. And so Norman's role in the show is not going to be wasted because I'm not going to waste Ethan McDowell's time. You know, he's a very present persona in the show. Not just in terms of how he connects or doesn't connect to Peter, but I mean, he's Harry's dad, and Harry's like
Yeah.
one of the main characters of our show. It circles around this trio, this friend group, and we get to see and explore so much of Harry and Norman's relationship and the tumultuous nature of that. We also get to explore so much of like the background and the rise of Oscorp that we've never seen, the history of how he got there. Almost like a Steve Jobs, kind of origin with Norman, and also story elements from the comics that have never been explored, like Norman's relationships, Harry's mom, his wife, and kind of what all happened with that. So there's so much meat and presence to Norman in season 1 that he doesn't even need to be Goblin to be interesting,
Yeah.
but he's going to be there. And so, how that relationship and how his character evolves over time is going to be something like super, super interesting to explore. And we're just kind of setting up in season 1.
Yeah, one of the other characters I wanted to talk about was James Carey as J. Jonah Jameson. We heard him a little bit in the trailer. We didn't get to really see him, but
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that character?
All right. Did you like him in the trailer?
I did like him in the trailer.
Yeah, he crushed it, dude. He's a director. He's an actor in and of himself. He's got some of the most experience, just life experience too. He brings so much passion to this role. A guilty pleasure of mine is that he also kind of looks like J.K. Simmons. I mean, like they could be brothers. They literally could. There's just a weird resemblance he has to that. But we get to explore other parts of Jonah that I'm really excited for. And James brings the acting chops and a real deep psychological understanding of Jonah's history and his love for his son. And he really does have a deep love for what he does, at the Daily Bugle, even if it's a little outdated. And James just gets to bring such a 3-dimensional approach to this character. I think it's gonna feel fresh. We get that classic kind of menace in the trailer and stuff, to honor, the comic bookiness of it all. But there's so much more to Jonah to explore, and James just felt like the perfect person to play that.
Yeah, one of the more interesting ones that I saw that was really cool that we talked about earlier before we started this was one of our previous guests on this podcast, Brandon Mello as Stanley Carter.
Yeah, man. Shout out Brandon. I hope all of you know Brandon, and if you don't, go check out his work. I mean, he's a producer. Monsters of Manhattan, right? So he's making his own fan film as well that I'm sure so many people know about. And if you don't, go check it out. But he's a writer, producer, director, actor in and of himself. So the man is just like us, wearing all the hats, and is really great at what he does. And he's a really great friend. So this project, I don't think, could have gotten started, at least on the business side, surely without Brandon's help. I mean, he's taught us and helped us with so much when it comes to insurance and contracts and navigating all the legalities that are wrapped up in this kind of a thing. But he's helped make it possible. So working with him from that point through the future just felt inevitable. But Brandon's a really great actor, and I don't think he gets enough credit. So I already had a way, in my mind that I was going to honor, this guy since we met. And I always had this kind of character in the back of my mind for him, just because I wanted to challenge convention. I didn't want to make it easy for him. I didn't want him to be, this kind of like, perfect hero. He's playing Spider-Man in his own fan film. So we're not going to give him that. But we're also not going to make him like this like really crazy villain, Like I just wanted to have him explore this really complex person and just see what happens. And so giving him that kind of artistic challenge and license to explore a character like Stanley just felt like the right move. And he's really excited about it. I pitched it to him. He agreed. So I'm excited for you guys to see him in a new light, for sure.
Yeah, it's something really cool. And I do like that you're introducing characters that aren't well known. And I think we've kind of bounced ideas off a lot of the times because, like, Stanley Carter, Gene DeWolf, they're characters that are so good, but are never
Yeah,
adapted.
exactly.
And so, like, the fact that I feel like we're bringing light to these characters is something so cool because I'm like,
Yeah,
these characters deserve so much recognition.
I agree, dude.
I
There's so much untapped potential. It's so many audiences. Like I just think about the audiences who have never read those comics or never seen these stories, just the smiles or the shock that they're gonna have on their face. Like it'll be
Yes.
their first time, and the power in that because those comics are already so powerful. So just
Yeah,
imagine seeing that adapted to screen.
I'm rereading that specific Sin Eater story. I don't want to, yeah, I don't want to give the name out because if people don't know these characters, I don't want to be like what. um, but I'm rereading that comic because I'm doing an adaptation of that for my season as well. It's kind of Sin Eater to me in this universe is kind of the stepping stone that kind of breaks everything and makes everything go off the rails because it's already kind of established in episode 1 that stuff is already kind of breaking. You see the breaks, and then Sin Eater is going to be that person that completely just demolishes everything and just everything falls apart at the end. Because I think he's such a cool character. I don't think it's man. I've seen one adaptation of him, and that was in Web of Spider-Man, which is another fan series. Shout out to them. It's really cool stuff. Shout out to them.
Shout out everybody.
Yeah, shout out everybody. Amari, Amato, everyone. No, but yeah, it's super cool. Another casting that I kind of want to see more of. So it was gonna be a question was Harrison Choice as young Peter Parker.
Yeah,
Are we gonna see him throughout season 1, or is he just in the first episode as a flashback? What's going on with young Peter?
Man, Harrison. No, I'm kidding. That's a question we're gonna have to ask Harrison. He is grown up. This kid's got more experience than I think some of us out here. I mean, he started young. Dude is doing everything. He dances. So, hopefully he still has time for us. But he's also growing up fast. When we shot what you saw in the trailer, it was about a year ago now. And he's already so grown up. But he's played an excellent young Peter, especially when we needed him. I think he looks just like a young Peter would. And the glasses are just like the glasses in the Mets hat were like the perfect little touch. They were too big for his face. He did everything that we needed him to do, especially in that trailer. And the trailer doesn't exactly, it's not an exact scene that's pulled from our show. The trailer is almost like a proof of concept of what our show is. Now that being said, like the opening of the trailer with the flashback of Uncle Ben and young Peter is actually a part of our pilot. It's not quite exact, how it is in a 2-minute long trailer. But the essence of it was kind of pulled from our script. So we pulled a lot from different parts of our script and try to create a more unified, small scale in terms of like a 2-minute trailer, kind of look at what our show is and what it's promising. And he delivered. Young Peter is a character that is really, really important, especially in the pilot. I think we get to see, I think Tasm did something really interesting where they started off with a kind of child look at Peter, and we've never seen that until then. And so we're kind of exploring those comics and that kind of media that take a look into sort of like the undiscovered life of a young Peter. Really, you have a Peter Parker at 16 who's dealing with all kinds of identity issues, self-esteem issues, all those things, and we've got to see where that stems from, and I don't know if you're in therapy, bro, but I am, and everything kind of goes back to childhood. So in order to tell a more authentic and complete story and picture for our audience. You know, we're trying to make it a little bit more real, and that just means looking at young Peter and seeing the connectivity between then and now. So
Yeah, let's talk about this other character, Peter Parker, Benett Sullivan. How'd you cast him? How did he come about?
yeah, man, I don't know. I think we probably need to recast that one. Man,
No,
you know,
yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about you a little bit. You recently released a video. It's a director's message, and
yes.
it talks about your battle with leukemia. I wanted to talk more about that. You know, Spider-Man as a character for you was kind of this escape. You know, um, what do you have to say like for your love as the character? Because I think your story is beautiful. Like your story as a human is so beautiful. You know, you fought leukemia for 4 years, and thank God you beat it. And look at you now. You know, you're doing Spider-Man alone, and it's something that it's now like, you know, over 1 million views on YouTube. So it's something, you know, it's something really cool. You know, what's kind of your message for everyone?
Yeah, you know, so this project is very much a passion project in every sense of the word. Um, I'm a cancer survivor, and when I was a kid, the thing that really helped me get through chemo was Spider-Man. Like, I know it sounds weird, but you know, to maybe people who aren't Spider-Man fans, but we all have that connection to this character. You know, we all found a piece of ourselves in that character, and I think that character saved us in our childhood time and time again, so many different times. And everybody's got their own story, and mine just looks like, you know, a kid battling cancer who needed to find, you know, this hope, who needed to believe that he was a hero, not a dying patient. And he really did that for me at that time. So this project is kind of some of those moral lessons that he taught me, and that sense of wonder and joy and hope that I want to offer audiences, you know, when we come to see this character, you know, when we come to see stories about a hero. But now I get to do it through a mature lens. You know, I get to bring my training, I get to bring resources, I get to bring community all into it to hopefully say something new, and poignant to where we are as a society today, especially in America. And that's kind of my only goal. So, you know, Spider-Man, absolutely, for me as a kid battling leukemia, was the thing, the character, the person, right, that made me not feel alone in that. And my biggest mission as a storyteller with Spider-Man Alone is to find all those kids out there, you know, and some of those kids are going to be grown 60-year adults, you know, men and women who also need to hear that story, that they are not alone. They are not alone. So I'm just trying to do what he did for me for others.
No, yeah, that's awesome. I love the video. I watched it, and I thought it was. I think it's something that's so beautiful that you're kind of vulnerable in speaking to you know a whole fan base, because it's sometimes hard to talk about personal stuff to an audience. So I mean, I think the fact that you did that and that it connects into Spider-Man Alone is so. It feels like this is straight just passion and love for the character. And that's why I've always kind of, you know, I've always tried to DM you like, hey dude, this is awesome, because I saw the vision and love that you were giving the character, and me as a fan I'm so excited to see it.
Thanks, man.
But yeah, like I love the project, and you know, what can we expect? You know, have you thought of stuff you want to do for future seasons? Maybe movies, anything you kind of like, because you're barely tapping into his origin story, so you don't want to immediately do something that's crazy and stuff like that. But have you thought ahead like that, and like, oh, I potentially want to explore this, if not as a season 2, but maybe as a movie or as something else? Like, have you thought of future projects with your version of Peter Parker?
Yeah, I've definitely thought of I've definitely thought of a future for Peter, for this version of Spider-Man. This version of Spider-Man is really interesting. It's so many things at once. It really is very accurate and honoring to the early source comics. But we also set it in like a modern day with this kind of coming of age, spin with like Perks and Stranger Things. So it gives it that kind of fresh, modern appeal. But we still have that original heart of the character. But the character's also, very tailored to me. I'm the one playing Peter. I'm excited for what I'm going to bring to the role. I might not be everybody's Peter. You'll have to watch and find out though. But, it works for the kind of story that we're going to tell. And it works as my Who Am I? And it works as me bringing my own life experiences and, piecing them together with this character to tell a really authentic story. So all of those things for this version really work. And I have thought about, how this character or how these characters fit in a greater world, what that world might look like, what the past looks like, what the future might look like. Obviously, we're just trying to get this pilot made, like if we even get one episode, I think that's a win. Obviously, our goal is to tell at least one season's worth of a story here. That's our complete picture. That does what we need it to do. That gives our message to audiences. And I really do believe in the power of stories and the way that we can inspire, especially young people. And I think that there's a clear message here that a lot of people need to hear. I know I needed to hear it, and delivered it in this kind of a package with this beloved character. I don't think that there's something that's quite like it. I'm really excited to do it. And if we got to continue to do that afterwards, we have some great ideas, and we have a way to expand the message. I agree with what you said. You don't want to just go and do something crazy. Our approach is a pretty tactile, grounded, very personal, approach to the character that I think a lot of people are going to see themselves in. So the way to grow in that is thematically, and that's some of my favorite stories, some of my favorite writing, some of my favorite movies and TV show, have really strong themes and thematically push their characters to the limits, not spectacle first, right?
Yeah.
It's the thing. So we do that. We actually get to see much bigger stakes, in the future, and bigger characters, beloved characters and villains. But it's really earned, actually. It's really earned, and it's all set up here in season 1. So season 1 is definitely the incubator for even more amazingness, but I'm really proud of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, let's talk about the suit. Season's 1 suit is the homemade suit, but it's a new spin to the homemade suit where it's very in line with the comic book suit. Tell us how you kind of thought about that. You've had like a couple variations of this version, I think, for the suit. Talk about how you got to the current version from the first version you first ever showed on, like when you first released it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we released an announcement video that we literally made in one night. It was me, Autumn, and our friend Brooks, and our friends Marcel and Marcus. So just like a couple of us, we wanted to put out, announcement that we were making this, that we were, at that time we were actually in the process of writing the show. We weren't nearly at where we're at now. We didn't even have a script done, but we knew what it was going to be, and we knew the promise of it. So we kind of, created a little trailer in and of itself for the announcement. And that suit that you see in that was sort of like the prototype of where we kind of got to now. I had actually made the suit in that announcement video, literally out of my own sweatshirts and sweatpants. I cut them, I glued them all together. I tried to puff paint webs, and then I got too scared to puff paint the mask, and we were going to shoot the next day. So I was like, if I mess this up, we have nothing else to use. So for some reason I have webs on the torso, but no webs on the mask or any other part in that announcement video. And the logo is very much more like a old Steve Ditko logo. It's just different, but it's like an infant version of where we got to. It still had a hand wrap, but it went up to the wrist, not quite the forearm. But I always knew that I at least wanted to have this kind of a version of a suit in the series. However, I didn't know if I wanted it to be the main suit. So in my earliest mind, I actually thought he was going to have like a homemade prototype suit before he got his Steve Ditko suit. I was going to do a much more accurate Steve Ditko, leather lenses, the webs, the web wings, the kind of, the comic book.
Yeah.
I really wanted that to be like our main suit for season 1. And then have this kind of sweatshirt, sweatpants one be the little one that we see just for a little bit right before that. And then I made the announcement video. Then we put the announcement video up, and everybody, including our costume designer, was like, that suit's really cool. You got to use that one. Don't do the other one. And I'm like, really? I'm like, you guys like that piece of shit? Like, I made that. It's not good. I didn't know what I was doing. I literally glued shit together. Like, what? And people really, really latched onto it because it's so DIY. It literally looks like anything any one of us can make. I mean, the fact that I was able to make that version shows that that's how a teenager would approach it. And so I was like, shit, you're right. Like I really wanted to go the full webs, the Steve Ditko, everything. But I was like, for what we're doing, going street level, like, it makes sense to make it way more grounded and way more practical. So then I kind of took that initial idea and took the Steve Ditko, and I was like, oh my God, brain blast. What if the Steve Ditko suit was the homemade suit and we just, and that's literally how we kind of came to that middle ground. That's where I got to find a little piece with the decision. And then it just became very clear that in order to make a suit that's going to hold on camera, like, we're going to have to watch this suit. And if it's too ugly or too, it's not, and no one's going to buy into it. But if it's too nice, it's also not going to feel the right way. So we just did a lot of costume research and analysis, especially of the comics. And we stripped the Steve Ditko suit down to its bare elements. And then we just translated that to kind of clothing. We extended the forearm hand wraps to be more like a wrestler, WWE I grew up on and love.
Same here. My Peter has like the biggest influence on WWE because, Peter Parker loves wrestling.
Bro, Peter, I don't feel like not enough people know about that. I mean, we got to see a little bit of that. Well, funny enough, it was in TASM too, but he just fell through the roof. But we got to see most of that in Toby's thing. And obviously it's a part of the comics, but I don't think people realize like Uncle Ben and Peter Parker love WWE.
Yeah,
they were wrestling nerds.
Yeah.
And so was I growing up, and I still am, and
same.
To bring that influence, I was like, okay, this is something I grew up with. Like, I love Rey Mysterio, right? Like, how can I honor that? Like, how would I honor those people? Like, those are his heroes, right? Wrestling stars. So it just became very evident of like, all right, to put our signature on this suit, to honor Steve Ditko, but also to take it and make it our thing. Maybe we integrate some kind of wrestling wraps, and that just makes it something a little bit different, but not in a bad way. Like, I think honors the character of Spider-Man even more because it's a part of the character of Spider-Man that we just never have seen explored. Yeah, so that was the method.
My style for Peter is very much it does pull a lot from Andrew Garfield / Spectacular Spider-Man, where it's a little bit of mix. But I'm like, I'm gonna add like a bunch of wrestling shirts in there because like the dude loves wrestling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I obviously have half of my closet is like wrestling shirts. I just went to Mania this past like April. So I was like, yeah, like that's something. And so like that, I always kind of had the theory of like the wraps being something related to like maybe I thought he was gonna use them because like the first episode might have been centered around him competing as a wrestler, like in the comics. That's kind of how I thought about it at first, and then I was like, well, I don't know. I'll ask him when I see him. But yeah, I think it's not explored enough. like a lot of Peter's like more personal interests, I feel haven't fully been explored because you obviously know he's a photographer and he likes science.
Mhm.
But I like how some like in Tom Holland's he loves Star Wars, so he collects the Star Wars figures.
Yeah,
Like
I guess.
I feel like more of that should be explored, but you also really can't do it in a movie, so it's cool that you get to do it in a show.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, but I think the costume is cool because it represents not only the show but who Peter is at the time, and that's
Exactly.
and it's like I really like hearing someone else approach the costume that way because um when I had talked to like other fan film creators, like when I first started off, I was like, oh, what was your inspiration for the costume? They were like, it just looked cool. So then I wanted to kind of think about costumes, and then I was like, that's why I chose like the very kind of not classic Spider-Man suits, red and black. If you guys seen my stuff, it's a red and black suit because Peter's angry this season. This whole season is about him being angry, so his suit's not going to reflect the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man because he's not there yet.
If there's anything that's true about Spider-Man and his origin, it's that he's not the hero of his origin story, guys. His origin works because he fails. He fails to do the right thing. He fails to be a hero. And what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man is that he's on this eternal, path of redemption, of trying to reconcile that failure and become a hero. So absolutely, man, it's so evident too, especially in all the filmmaking films and filmmakers that I love, that the costumes, whether that's like actual wardrobe or even the suits, are just extensions of that character. What is this saying about his identity, about who he is? And we try to put so much detail and effort into designing this costume and even adding new pieces, like you see. So
Yeah, like my whole thing about the classic suit is I feel like Peter has to earn that suit. Yeah, like that's how I have always approached it. Cause people would ask me, it's like, so are we gonna get a blue suit, like a red and blue suit? And I'm just like, I haven't even released episode 1. I'm like, dude, probably not. I was like, I don't know what you, probably not. Because I think that's what makes your suit so iconic is the fact that it represents your like if I were to see your Peter and like your suit, Spider-Man alone, easily recognizable, and I think that's so important with the suits. And I think sometimes I wish more fan films did this where they kind of want to do their own take on the suit because I do see a lot of fan films use the movie suits, which is awesome. But I like when people use their own original ideas for it because I was like, I want to see like the duality of all these different versions of Spider-Man. So I think that's what makes your suit so iconic is that regardless of you getting a new suit, I think this suit is going to represent, it's the representation of your Spider-Man as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think it was like a super awesome take on it. And it's just really cool. I saw it and I was like, this is cool. Everything about the project is very new and cool and authentic. And, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. So to me, is like anything Spider-Man related, I'm going to get excited about. I don't care if I'm working on my own thing. I'm still going to get excited about anything I see Spider-Man.
Yeah, same.
Just because it's like such a cool character and seeing people's takes on it is always like super interesting. Because we've had various projects in the past and their takes on the character. I think so far, like from what's been released, my favorite take so far is from the Web of Spider-Man series. Just because it's a series and I've kind of been on the thing where I'm like, I want to see more Spider-Man series rather than movies.
Yeah.
So like if I get my hands on whatever Spider-Man series, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take this. I don't care. I'm like, I'll take it. Just give it to me. I'll watch it. Yeah, I think like my favorite like interpretation has been from that series so far. Just because it felt like I was like, this feels like a TV show Peter. So like I'm super excited when it comes to Spider-Man Alone because I'm like, this is definitely like a Netflix series Peter. Like this is this is gonna be cool. Like, this is gonna be a really cool take on it. Yeah, it's just a very exciting project overall.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much, dude.
I
Means a
can't
lot.
say, yeah, I'm like, I can't say more good things about it. It's so like, it's so cool. And you know, it's funny because we kind of connected when you were first kind of bouncing off like, hey, I have this idea and I'm doing this, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing this, and I was like, oh, that's super cool. So like now 2 years, kind of like 2 years now later, you know, seeing that you have all this done is super amazing. And yeah, man, I think it's only gonna go up from here.
Yeah, same to you, bro. The same sentiment with you and your project. I saw your intro, even that you just dropped. You know, of like it's literally so cool. It honors Spectacular Spider-Man, but it does its own thing too. I love seeing the way that you've grown as a person, number one, and also as a writer, filmmaker, and even just talking before we hopped on here. You know, like, oh, I filmed this, but I already can see how I've grown since then, how I could grow. You know, and I just want to encourage you too that like, doing the work is how you grow. So don't worry about fast tracking that. Just always continue to show up and be present, put your best foot forward. And the more you create, the more you're going to grow as a filmmaker. So to see where we were then and where you are now is a real privilege for me as your friend. So yeah, I'm proud of you too, dude.
I was gonna say, like, I'm super proud of being your friend, because I'm like, I get to like brag about him, like, yeah, you know, I know that guy, dude. Like, yeah,
He showed his mom.
Did you know him? I showed my mother. We were having
at breakfast.
At
He said,
breakfast,
"Put down those
and I was
eggs.
like,
I gotta
like,
show you
Mom,
something."
look at this. I was like, my friend's doing this. Look at it, and she's like, oh, that's super cool. Yeah, I showed my mom. I showed quite a bit of people.
Thanks for
I was
doing
like,
that, man.
I know that guy. I know that guy.
Mom
Yeah,
approved.
mom
That's
approved.
the new Rotten Tomatoes. It's like mom approved.
Mom approved. That would be a. It's just like.
Oh wait, are we on to something? Are we cooking?
Are we gonna make a new?
I think that's something.
Mom approved. Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. Have you kind of diving a little bit off before we end the interview? Have you kind of seen all the stuff of Spider-Man Brand New Day? What are your thoughts on it?
Number one, I'm so glad Tom Holland is feeling better, because that concussion is crazy. My brother got a concussion in high school. It's just not fun to just deal with. You know, it could be worse, of course. So I'm glad it's only a concussion. But man, he's giving it his all. Huh?
Yeah,
he's putting in work for this. So that makes me more excited. I also know some of the people working on that movie right now, and they have nothing but great things to say. There's people that I really, really respect in the film industry. And then the stills, like the photo ops that we've gotten from the street photographers.
I see like the suit review.
What happened? Where did this even come from?
I seen like the suit review, and then like the next day I see the dude swing on the side of a building, and I was like, what the hell? I was like, they're doing practical swinging? Hell yeah.
It's cool. It's a cool. There's definitely a different level of commitment, effort, of design. You know, there's plenty of things that I maybe am not the biggest fan of, or I'm like, I would have made maybe a little bit different design choice here or this or that. But all of that kind of fails into comparison, and how excited I am for that project, and really hopeful to see that project succeed. Because I really just enjoy Tom Holland as an actor and as a person. I know he's got so much love for Spider-Man 2, and to see where, you know, it's hard to know exactly what they're going to do, but to see where their mind's at, and the level of commitment, of passion, of it just expertise. I mean, they've got freaking Jackie Chan working on this movie. I'm like, that's exactly right. Like, literally, that was an idea I had, not to my own horn, but I literally was like, how I want to approach some of the fight scenes in Spider-Man Alone is like Police Story. Like, it's how Jackie Chan would like use the playground or use these things, you know, fight off like 10 guys at once. And for some reason, like, a young Peter Parker feels like a young Jackie Chan to me, you know, like when he gets powers.
It's cool.
And then they're doing that in Brand New Day.
It's cool though, because like it's cool that it's like more martial arts, because in the comics Peter learns how to fight from Shang-Chi.
The Way of the Spider.
Yeah, and it's like you know, he's like trained with Iron Fist, Shang-Chi, and all these characters. So I'm like, it's really cool that, you know, they're having like the martial arts and doing all that. I'm excited for that movie. I think it's one of my most anticipated.
I'm wishing them the best. I'm excited to see what they do, regardless of whatever it is. I'm loving what I'm seeing so far, for sure.
Yeah, well, has been a great podcast today.
Thank you for having me, dude.
Everyone, please go donate to the Indiegogo. The link will be in the description, and you know, get this project made. It's has so much heart, and you know, it's something so cool. If you haven't seen the trailer, what's going to be at the beginning of this, so you will see it. But if you skip it, watch it. It's really good. Yeah, I can't say more good things about Spider-Man alone. Thank you, Benett, for being on the podcast today.
Dude, thank you for having me. Go support his work as well. The Spectacular Spider-Man is going to be phenomenal. He's phenomenal. And there's so many fan films out there, and I know it feels overwhelming. Analysis paralysis. I can't support them all. But you just showing up, I think even dropping a like and comment, I'm trying to do that even more as I go on throughout my days of just dropping into channels, dropping in on people's work and just supporting them, saying an encouraging word, sharing it. As a fan film creator myself, I know how much passion and work these people are putting into it. I mean, it is a thankless job, the sacrifice, nights, and mental health that people like Kevin and Onward have put into their projects. And it's so admirable. So I'm just grateful I get to be a part of the fan film community and contribute and just say something of a thanks and a love letter to this character who's helped us all.
Well, it's been Kevin.
And it's been Benett.
And we'll catch you soon next time. Spidey's out.
Let's go.